Jaya Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Baladeva Jaya Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Shuddhara Shuddha Shishimati Stivain Greshla Isi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We didn't write the verse, right? Now all of a sudden it's more devotees. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 4. You read 3. Yes.
You sent it to me 3.
We don't have the verse on the board, so maybe Johannes, du kannst es mit dem Master zusammen und ich mache sie auf dem Buch. Dasha Varsha Sahasrante Dasha Varsha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatanaha Purushastu Sanatanaha Teshamavira Bhutkrichram Teshamavira Bhutkrichram Shantena Shamayangruja Shantena shamayam rucha. Dashavasha sahasrante. Purushastu sanatanaha. Deshang avirabhut krichram. Shantena shamayam rucha. Please chant.
Dasha Varsha Sahasrante.
Dashavasha sahasrante.
Purushastu Sanatanaha. Tesham Avir Prabhut Krichram. Shantena Shamayam Rucha.
Dasha Varsha Sahasrante. Purushastu Sanatanaha. Tesham Avirabhut Krichram. Shantena Shamayam Rucha.
Want the gist?
Dasha Varsha Sahasrante. Purushastu Sanatanaha. Tesham Avirabhut Krichram. Shantena Shamayam Rucha. Dasha Varsha Sahasrante. Purushastu Sanatanaha. Tesham Avirabhut Krichram. Shantena Shamayam Rucha.
Word for word translation. Kannst du mir noch die englische Bhagavad Gita bringen? Dashavarsha. 10 years. Sahasrante. At the end of 1,000. Purushaha. The Supreme Person. 2. 10. Sanatanaha. Eternal. Tesham. Of the Prachetas. Avirabhut. Appeared. Krichram. The severe austerity. Shantena. Satisfying. Shamayan. Mitigating. Rucha. By his beauty. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. At the end of 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Prachetas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to reward their austerities, appeared before them in his very pleasing form. This appealed to the Prachetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities. Mega gut. Du bist wahrscheinlich nicht am Richtigen. Performing 10,000 years of severe austerities does not seem a happy endeavor. Yet the devotees, the serious students of spiritual life, undergo such austerities to attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At that time, when the duration of life was very long, people could undergo severe austerities for thousands of years. It is said that Valmiki, the author of Ramayana, underwent meditational austerities for 60,000 years. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appreciated the austerities undergone by the Prachetas, and he finally appeared before them in a pleasing form. Thus they all became satisfied and forgot the austerities they underwent. In the material world, if one is successful after hard labor, he is very pleased. Similarly, the devotee forgets all his labors and austerities as soon as he contacts the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Dhruva Maharaj was only a 5-year-old boy, he underwent severe austerities by eating simply dry foliage, drinking only water, and taking no food. In this way, after 6 months, he was able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. When he saw the Lord, he forgot all his austerities and said, Swamin Kritartosmi, my dear Lord, I am very pleased. Of course, these austerities were performed in the Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga, but not in this age of Kali. In this Kali Yuga, one can attain the same results simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because the people of this age are fallen, the Lord is kind enough to give them the easiest method. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the same results. However, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out, we are so unfortunate that we are not even attracted to chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Agyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitanscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Taline. One more time the translation. At the end of 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Prachetas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to reward their austerities, appeared before them in his very pleasing form. This appealed to the Prachetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So here we hear how the Prachetas and Can you hear it also? This. The Prachetas, they got the instruction to meditate, and especially they were doing some prayers, and after 10,000 years of performing this practice, now the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in his form, in his personal form. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives examples of Valmiki. Valmiki wrote the Ramayana, the pastimes of Sri Ramachandra, and also of Dhruva Maharaj, who also performed austerities, and then he got the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada mentions, if somebody can just switch it off, please. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport how these pastimes, they happened in different time, in different ages, Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and not in Kali Yuga. So he's making a very important point that this is a bona fide process to perform austerities, but not in the age of Kali, where we are in currently, it's not possible. So we try to speak a little bit about austerity today. Also yesterday, Mahakrishna who spoke about austerity in his class. And Srila Prabhupada in his Vani, meaning his lectures and in his books, he describes what is actually austerity. Does anyone know the Sanskrit word of austerity? Tapasya. And Srila Prabhupada, he explains that tapasya means to undergo voluntarily some inconveniences of this body. So that's very important, to voluntarily accept some inconveniences. For example, Srila Prabhupada sometimes said, you are all, look at the Westerners, they just sit on the floor and listen to when he was speaking to me. So that's some kind of austerity. We could not be here at all. We could be sleeping at the moment, but we are sitting here, and not only that, but we are humbly taking a seat on the floor. So that's some kind of austerity, some tapasya. And you voluntarily come, I guess. Nobody was forced today to come to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Let's say you're taking some inconveniences involuntarily. Let's say you are in the hospital and you have to just remain there laying on the bed. That is not tapasya. The tapasya really means that you voluntarily accept something. This is an important point. And Srila Prabhupada also explains, here I'm reading a statement, he says, because we are accustomed to enjoy bodily senses, and tapasya means voluntarily to give up the idea of sense gratification. In other statements, Srila Prabhupada also says that there is different kinds of tapasya, like for example, Hiranyakashipu, he was doing tapasya very severely. He stood on one leg for many, many years. No, that was Raman, I think. Hiranyakashipu, no, he was at one point, he was also standing, and he was standing for so long that the ants ate his body. And this is also some kind of tapasya, but Srila Prabhupada explains it's not actually tapasya in the sense that Hiranyakashipu was not doing this to give up sense gratification, but to increase sense gratification. So it looks like tapasya, but it's actually not. So real tapasya means you consciously want to do it for giving up sense gratification. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he explains about tapasya in the 17th chapter. He explains, who remembers what Krishna explains in connection to austerity in the Bhagavad Gita? He speaks about 3 kinds of different austerities. Do you remember? Anyone remembers?
Passion, goodness in terms.
Yes, this is one. That's one kind how he divides, and there is another kind of
Speech.
yes,
Action.
speech,
Body.
body, and mind. Yes. And when he describes the 3 kinds of austerities, then afterwards he says, this threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by a man not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme is called austerity in goodness. So when it's performed for some other kind of, like he explains, if we perform austerity for out of pride and to gain something, then it's in the mode of passion. And when we perform it to harm others or ourselves, then it's in the mode of darkness. So that means real tapasya is in the mode of goodness, and it's to give up sense gratification and out of duty. Now, Prabhupada says that in this age of Kali we cannot perform this kind of austerities. Does that mean that we don't have to perform any austerities? What do you think? We have to? Why? Okay, I'm going to read a few very interesting quotes of Srila Prabhupada. I found in the database. The entire Varnashram Dharma society is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. He's making an important point that the institution of Varna Ashrama, meaning the dividing the society into different sections, and we know Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then also the Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. It is meant for tapasya. And we know in the Vedas it is said that actually we human beings, in a way, we are similar to animals. We do all the same. We do the same things. We eat, we sleep, we have sex life, and we defend ourselves constantly. But if you add dharma to your life, to these activities, then you become a human being. And dharma means to regulate yourself. And to regulate yourself means to perform some austerity. There is one very specific point where of course in the Varnashram Dharma there's many different levels of austerity, but there is one major austerity which is a lot of focus in the Varnashram. Anyone an idea? What is the main tapasya in Varnashram Dharma? What do you regulate?
Senses.
The senses, right. And what particularly? Sex life. Yes. Srila Prabhupada, he writes it. Human life is meant for such tapasya, with the great vow of celibacy or brahmacharya. In the rigid life of tapasya, there is no place for the association of women. And because human life is meant for tapasya, for self-realization, factual human civilization, as conceived by the system of Sanatana Dharma, or the school of four castes and four orders of life, prescribes rigid dissociation from women in 3 stages of life. In the order of gradual cultural development, one's life may be divided into 4 divisions: celibacy, household life, retirement, and renunciation. No, that's the main. In Varnashram Dharma mainly we see how there is the ashrams, and in ashram, 3 of them, you are actually not allowed to have any sexual intercourse. Only 1, and there it's also regulated, means you have to accept a husband or a wife and properly fulfill your duties. So that is the main point too. And we know, we also spoke about it, sex life is what binds us in this world. Srila Prabhupada also speaks about a little bit more extended tapasya, and that's the tapasya, like Anali Gaurangi, she was saying, yeah, we have to perform tapasya. How do we know, what is a very obvious fact that Srila Prabhupada expects us to perform tapasya? Something which we do in the course of time of our spiritual life, where we actually consciously accept tapasya. We commit ourselves.
Take initiation.
Yeah, what do we do?
We give vows.
What kind of vows?
Following the regulated principles.
Yes. Srila Prabhupada says the principles of renunciation are 4: to avoid illicit sex, what reaches 3, to avoid meat eating, to avoid intoxication, and to avoid gambling. These 4 principles are called tapasya or austerity. So it's obvious that Srila Prabhupada, he gets criticized by other Vaishnavas even, that he did that he took the vow from his disciples at initiation, because that was not done previously. But Srila Prabhupada did it. And why he did it is explained in another quote of Srila Prabhupada. To engage in tapasya, or denial of material activities, is the first principle of spiritual life. Then there are spiritual activities such as the performance of Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, study of the Vedic knowledge, meditation upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, what is said here is that spiritual life means first we have to, like if you go, this is the spiritual world and this is the material world. If we want to, and spiritual life means going in direction of the spiritual world, and material life means going in direction of material world. The beginning of spiritual life means you turn around and you stop going in this direction, meaning you regulate your senses and you go into, and then you can start to actually perform spiritual activities. So I think this is clear, we all know about this. One also very important point which comes out in connection to the Varnashram Dharma is the following, another quote by Srila Prabhupada. As it is necessary for one to become very active in family life, similarly after retirement from family life, it is necessary to control the mind and senses. This is possible when one engages himself fully in the devotional service of the Lord. Actually, the whole purpose of the Vedic system, the Vedic social order is to enable one to ultimately return home back to God. The Grihastha ashram is a sort of concession combining sense gratification with a regulative life. It is to enable one to easily retire in the middle of life and engage fully in austerities in order to transcend material sense gratification once and for all. Therefore, in the Vanaprastha stage of life, tapasya or austerity is strongly recommended. So what we hear here is that tapasya is a principle which is gradual, meaning there is no expectation that somebody can manifest advanced austerity from the very beginning of life. No, in general, it is the idea is that it's a gradual development of renunciation, that slowly, through following the different prescriptions of the Vedas, we slowly transform our consciousness, and then we can actually perform tapasya in a more natural way. There is a few quotes by Srila Prabhupada which are very important. He writes in Bhagavad Gita, everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. So it's not recommended to do it. And then in another quote he gives an example. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of the prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyas. It's a process of purification and renunciation. Tapasya can only be lasting if it's natural, if it comes from a higher level of consciousness. Now I want to read one more quote and then make one important point. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It's also Bhagavad Gita. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise therefore above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the signs of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long-cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In a Vedic mantra it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. What we hear here is that your tapasya is always proportionate to your level of Krishna consciousness. Of course, sometimes we see how, I remember when I went to India for the first time, and we were a big group of devotees, and there was two devotees, they were super enthusiastic. So they said, it was Kartik, we will only drink milk during Kartik, this heavy tapasya. So then, in the beginning I was like, almost envious, no, wow. So then they did that, and after a few days, it was obvious that they became very weak, and then towards the third week, they wouldn't turn up anymore for Mangalarti. They were so weak, they were just laying in bed. But they didn't stop the austerity, they continued. But they didn't come to the program anymore, and I don't know, it was quite a useless austerity. So sometimes we see how somebody is performing some nice austerity, but usually it's not long lasting if there is not some proportionate Krishna consciousness behind it. And this is very natural. We see how devotees, they, especially fasting, is a very popular procedure for austerity. There is also a story by Hridayananda Das Goswami. He says, yeah, you know, he was a young brahmachari and he was having some lusty desires. So like everybody else would do, he thought, okay, let me reduce my eating. And he was very mental about his lusty desires. He stopped eating and, he ate very little, and then he also stopped going with Srila Prabhupada to the morning walk because he felt he has to be more focused. And Srila Prabhupada then came to his room and told him, so let's go to the morning walk. So Hridayananda had to go. And while they were walking out, they saw a huge plate of Mahaprasad. And he was already fasting for a few days. And so the Prabhupada was asking, what kind of prasad is this? And the devotees didn't know, and he was a little bit upset. And then they went for the morning walk. And when they came back, Prabhupada walked up the stairs and they offered obeisances, and Prabhupada turned around and said, now you eat this. And he had to eat the whole plate of Mahaprasad, a huge tray. So Prabhupada could see that he was mental and he was not inspired, and his strategy was to reduce eating, but that's not the process. So it's a gradual development of renunciation by performing some kind of austerity, and it should always be, the focus should always be how to increase my Krishna consciousness. Because when we are Krishna conscious, then it becomes much easier. Srila Prabhupada says that if one has actually a real understanding of spiritual life, meaning one has an understanding of the relationship with Krishna, then sense gratification will be very distasteful. It will look very ugly. Because I'm having such a beautiful relationship with the Lord, and now look at this, I'm just like a mad person. I try to bring my senses in contact with the sense objects completely egoistically, and with, you know, it has nothing to do with real love. So then when we actually understand what love means, what real relationship is, then sense gratification automatically will be so boring and unattractive. But at the stage where we are now, mostly it's not the case. We are very much attracted to sense gratification. It's actually the purpose of our life. We get up in the morning, and we get up in the morning with enthusiasm because we know we will in some way have sense gratification during the day. And we go to bed peacefully because we had sense gratification. If there was no sense gratification, we wouldn't get up in the morning because there is no reason. And in the evening we couldn't go to sleep because we would not feel satisfied. So that's why this gradual development, and we should always see the goal. And the goal is shown by these devotees like the Prachetas or Dhruva Maharaj. The goal is literally to see God, to see Krishna face to face. That is possible. Srila Prabhupada said, back home, back to God and in one life. And I think we can, very, very important is that we plan our life in this way that whatever I will do, actually my goal is to ultimately come to this point where I'm completely pure and I can see Krishna. And then gradually we make a plan for our life, how we can increase our renunciation, how we can increase our austerity. And as a last point, in the Bhagavad Gita, in connection with these austerities, there is also mention of two other things which are very important. And Krishna says they should never be given up. He says austerity should never be given up, and two other things. Who remembers?
Your duty, your spiritual duties, when you...
Of course, yeah. But we speak about some duties in the material field. So yagya and dharma, charity, sacrifice and charity, and austerity, these three. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, not in this but in other purports, that these three are practiced, each item is practiced on a different level of development. And he says in the student life, brahmachari, which we all are in this section, it's recommended to perform sacrifice. In the household life, if one is married, then what is recommended? Charity. It's logical because when you're a householder, you earn money. And then what does Srila Prabhupada say? How much charity should we give? 50%. Yeah.
Yes.
Very high standard. And then retired life means austerity. So tapasya is actually primarily meant for vanaprasths and sannyas. But of course there is always aspects also in the different ashrams, but the focus is on different items. So for us as brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, it means that we should use our time to perform a sacrifice. And we know the sacrifice of this time and age is chanting of Hare Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada, he mentions in the purport that actually our austerity would be very simple. We just chant Hare Krishna. But the problem is we don't have a taste for that. We don't have a taste, unfortunately. And this is very obvious because we hear about the sweetness of the holy name and the potency of the holy name, and that if we just chant then everything is okay. But who in this room spontaneously ever chanted 3 hours Hare Krishna in a row? Nobody. Why? Because we are conditioned. We don't have a taste. Our mind is constantly dragging us away. I want to eat, I want to enjoy, I want to do this. That's our problem. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, he arranged in ISKCON a very elaborate program where we can engage on different levels. But everything is connected to the chanting and hearing. Like now we are also doing Sankirtan Yagya. And he especially established these temples to facilitate that Yuga Dharma, the chanting and the hearing. He always said hearing and chanting is the main program. But there are so many things needed. We have to worship the deities, we have to clean the tap room, we take care of Tulasi, we cook, we go shopping, we bring people in by doing book distribution and prasadam distribution, we invite them. So this is all like in the previous ages, a yagya literally means you make a fire and then in the fire you offer some ingredients. And actually the brahmachari, he would bring the wood, he would bring the ghee, he would bring the grains in order to facilitate the yagya. So similarly, we as brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, and not only them, actually, this Yuga Dharma is always there. But especially for us, because we're not working, we don't have money, so we cannot give charity. And we also cannot perform the austerity which the sannyasis and the vanaprasthas are doing. So we should engage ourselves in work to facilitate this Yuga Dharma, the Sankirtan Yagya, by engaging in the service which is required in a temple. So Srila Prabhupada is very merciful that he established these temples in order for us to engage in this sacrifice on many different levels and engage our nature. And then at one point we might get married and we don't have so much time, then we are supposed to continue giving charity. And we give it to ISKCON, we give it to Srila Prabhupada's movement, because they are doing the same thing. They are promoting the chanting of Hare Krishna. And then if we go through that properly, we automatically will actually develop Krishna consciousness. And at one point, if we perform sacrifices, if we perform charity, and it's not that we stop with this. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, it should always be done, these things. But at one point, by doing this over the course of our life, we will actually be able to completely renounce this material world. But it will not happen overnight. It will not happen overnight. It will happen slowly, gradually. But we have to follow the process properly. So if we don't follow the process properly, if we are brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, but we don't engage humbly, submissively in the service of the spiritual master, then it will not create the result which we need to create in order to come to that point. And if we are householders and we don't give charity, or we don't give charity in the proper mood, or we don't, basically if we are too attached, it will also not create the necessary realization to advance in Krishna consciousness. And then one cannot expect to see Krishna at the end of life and go back home, back to Godhead, but one has to come back again. So we should be very serious about our duties and perform them very nicely, and in this way we become more and more renounced, and in this way we become free from disentanglement. So we have a wonderful opportunity to engage in this Sankirtan Yagya again, and I hope this is inspiring you in your service, and I would like to end here. If you have any comments or questions, then please feel free. Then we can end. Thank you for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantara Srila Bhagavatam ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Hari.
Damodar Prasad ki
Jai.
Vanchakalpatarusha Kripasindeya Nest.
Nest. Wouldn't I use a nest? But don't worry, this was the first time that we stay alone. He will improve. It's
Yeah.
natural improvement.
If you push a little bit. Also, bist du da gewesen?
Ja, ja.
Dann müssen wir jetzt ein paar Sachen vorher
Ja.
besprechen.
Also ich habe den Zani und Claudia und
Okay.
sonst Bedeutung.
Okay, so.
Mastic is not cosmic.
Nest.
Nest.
Nest is.
I heard that.
alles klar.
Das ist wenig gefunden.
Kannst du ehrlich machen, ja, das ist gut. Wann bist du gekommen?
Ja, gestern.
Gestern, okay. Bist du noch im Büro?
Mhm.
Komm nachher rauf. Das ist gut erzählen. Das ist gut.
Genau.
Ja, super. Wie lange? 3 Wochen, oder?
2.
2 sind es mal. Gut. Ja.
Ja.
Back in.
Back in the road. Nice. Nice. Das war easy.
Ja, ich komme noch ein
Okay.